There will never be a new world order until women are a part of it. Women's suffragist Alice Paul said this nearly 100 years ago. It is still true for today's political and social issues. Paul organized the Women's Parade on March 3, 1913. About 5,000 participants marched in D.C. the day before Woodrow Wilson's presidential inauguration. 104 years later, feminists from all over the country also marched in D.C. These participants marched the day after Donald Trump's presidential inauguration on January 21st. This was the Women's March of 2017. They advocated for paid family leave, to end racial profiling, to expand contraceptive options, while addressing many other issues.
But what happened in between those 104 years? On August 18, 1920, Congress ratified the 19th Amendment. Paul and other women suffragists had won the right to vote. The next step was the Equal Rights Amendment, also known as the ERA. Alice Paul and Crystal Eastman wrote the amendment to give women the same rights as men. On July 9, 1978, the National Organization for Women formed a march in favor of the ERA. Conservative Phyllis Schlafly fought against the amendment, specifically the idea of forcing women to enter the draft. After Schlafly lobbied to Congress members, the 1982 amendment was just 3 states short of ratification. Then in April of 2004, 1,150,000 participants marched in D.C. in protest of George W. Bush's administrative policies on women's health. The March for Women's Lives shouted the slogans,
"Keep your laws off my body,"
and
"My body, my choice,"
in response.
There has been much progress since the Women's Parade in 1913, yet there is still progress to be made. U.S. women earn 77 cents for every dollar men earn. The Women's Health Organization reports that 1 in 3 women will experience physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. 95% of countries are led by a male head of state. This has been a point of contention due to the lack of education on resources for women's health. In the days leading up to the Trump presidency, Congress threatened to defund Planned Parenthood. The government-funded organization provides reproductive health care, sexual education, and various tests for both men and women. Trump claimed that the government would still provide support as long as Planned Parenthood stopped providing abortions.
About 600,000 feminists marched in D.C. in response to these gender inequality issues. Many of these participants carried feminist slogan signs, such as,
"Nasty woman make herstory,"
Who run the world?
"Girls!"
and
"Keep your politics off my pussy."
many women also donned pussy hats. The hats represented support for women's reproductive health rights. Unlike past marches, the Women's March spread into other cities such as Atlanta, Denver, Minneapolis, and Los Angeles. The Women's March was global. Participants marched in Paris, Berlin, Athens, Sydney, Lisbon, Bangkok, and more. Between 3.6 to 4.6 million people attended women's marches in the United States. Millions more participated worldwide. Nearly 3 times as many people attended the D.C. Women's March than Trump's inauguration.
Indra Merced attended a women's march with a friend in Kansas City. According to Merced, she marched for those who are silenced by an oppressive government or societal norms, whether in the United States or another country. Merced said in an interview,
This march put into perspective the similar problems both developed and underdeveloped countries face in varying degrees. The march was incredible, but I think it's especially important to remember that feminism is a global cause and not solely a domestic one. I feel that many who disagree with feminism only look through the Western lens.
Jeffrey Dick attended the Women's March in D.C. He reported that he's ready to see a change in U.S. politics and social issues. He said in a quote,
I saw my female peers feel empowered, which felt pretty cool. I think the most important takeaway is that Trump's election, for better or for worse, has energized the liberal base. We could see a movement on the left similar to that of the Tea Party. This will create one of the most fascinating political dynamics that our country has ever had.
In response to the march, Trump commented to his Twitter followers, "Watched protests yesterday, but was under the impression that we just had an election. Why didn't these people vote?" He also stated that even though he disagreed with the protesters, they have the right to protest. Counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, said she didn't see the point in the march. Trump's administration continued to criticize the actions of those who participated in the peaceful protests around the world.
25 years after the march, the National Women's History Museum has opened an exhibit to commemorate the historic event. In an interview, museum curator Ann Clearwater discussed the intentions of the exhibit, saying,
We created this exhibit based on the various aspects of our mission statement, including education and empowerment. We want to educate our visitors of all ages on the struggles women have faced in attempts to gain equality. We hope to inspire visitors to continue this movement to ensure that women's rights are considered human rights.
Kathy Johnson visited the museum days after the grand opening. She said,
I brought my daughters to the museum for a fun day and we stumbled upon this new exhibit. It was the perfect opportunity to show them that they can grow up to be strong, independent women and have the ability to create change for the betterment of all people. It was not only empowering for my girls, but also myself as a mother. I cannot wait to see what is next to come in the political movement for women's equality.
Curators hope the exhibit will inform a new generation about the inequality women have experienced. The exhibit features feminist slogan posters, pussy hats, personal testimonies from individuals at marches, and more. The memorabilia and personal stories hope to inspire visitors to stand up for women's rights. The grand opening took place on January 21, 2042, the 25th anniversary of the Women's March.